properly will prolong the life of all the parts in the back of the motorcycle. And another thing you want to be conscientious of is if the fastener is making noise or it doesn't feel smooth, that you take it out and you lubricate it on the threads and on the bottom of the head. And we can see there's a nice amount of grease here. So this is torqued nicely, but it's all dry under the head. This head being dry can cause it to seize or not be torqued properly. So I just want to put a little grease under there. I'll put a little bit more on the threads. And the next time this chain is adjusted, it'll probably unbolt much easier. Bolts fail on a motorcycle because they've been over torqued or the wrong tools have been used. Now the other thing is anytime you're torquing something that we'll call a clamp, you want to do it multiple times because you tighten the first, this is basically a big opening like this, and you're closing it up when you torque it. So if we torque this one, then we torque this one, it loosens this one back up. So you want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, back and forth until it doesn't take torque anymore. And I usually go 3 times back and forth. And now it's torqued properly. You'll see it probably unbolts a lot easier now than it did the last time. You saw I had to get my long bar out to break it free. That's a really good piece of information. If there's no grease on the threads or between the head of the fastener and where it attaches to, you're not really getting an accurate torque, and you will possibly have a problem getting the fastener off next time.
One quick thing on a torque wrench. When you are using a torque wrench, if you have a breakaway or if you have an electronic like this that beeps, you can exceed the torque value if you give it a sharp pull. You want to have a nice even pull to let it break away. If you just give it a shot, it will break away quickly.
And when you're the other, you know, I have a Craftsman, right? It clicks. Is that what you mean?
But if you just like pull on it sharply, it'll click almost immediately, and it'll be a lower torque value on the bolt that you actually created. You want to have a nice even sweep.
And you should believe the click. You shouldn't keep going.
Make sure that you zero it out after every time you use it, so that the spring's not under tension. And depending on how much you use it, you might want to get recalibrated once in a while.
Our clicker styles are recalibrated every 3 years. The electronic ones supposedly don't need recalibration. I had my snap-on recalibrated after 4 years, and it got dropped a bunch, and it was right on the money when it went to certification.
There's also beam styles and then dial indicators like this, where it doesn't click, you're just actually looking at the value. So there's a lot of different styles of torque wrenches.
That by far is probably the best torque wrench you can get because there really is no wear in that system. But you have to start always with it zeroed and trust the tool. But ideally, that's all I would have. But practicality-wise, those don't take abuse while getting dropped. And but they are the best torque wrenches because you can watch the torque applying it. A clicker, you won't really detect the thread failure. That you'll watch the torque climb, 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 and if the bolt stretches, it'll stall, and you'll keep rotating it, and the needle won't move. So that gives you the ability to actually watch the torque being applied with rotational force. The same thing with the inexpensive needle ones that people make a lot of fun of. Those are really good that way too, because that needle gives you a really good indication of what's going on. Unfortunately, in some circumstances, you can't see because you're coming up from the bottom. So you'd have to be like this to torque it.
So if the needle stalls, it's telling you that the bolt is...
The bolt is stretching. So if it's supposed to be torqued at 26 foot-pounds, and you're 2, 7, 9, 12, 13, 13, 13, 13, the bolt is stretching, 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 and if you keep torquing it, something's going to give you either the bolt will break or the threads will pull. So that's, knowing that, it's saved me a few times. I've had fasteners on belt tensioners where it just kept stalling, and I took the bolt out, and it actually, the bolt looked like an hourglass. It started stretching and stretching, but if you torqued it by hand, you would have never detected it.
And if you have that occurring, and you're significantly below the torque value you're looking for, take the bolt out, look at it, make sure you haven't stretched too much, but also lube it, the head as well as the threads. Because just the head could be creating enough torque that you're not actually being able to get the load in the threads.